Goodbye, friends. Today we will not be taking a look at Bizarro from Mattel's DC Multiverse.
Am you Bizarro's mommy?
So my enemies, here is Bizarro inside of his packaging. Now I didn't really need a Bizarro for my collection, so I had no reason to pick this guy up. And now that I have, I see that his sculpt is pretty different compared to most Mattel figures. And the worst part is on the face. There's just no sculpted details at all, and the hair is super straight. I really don't like it at all. But the rest of the body is pretty bad by comparison. It doesn't look like a Superman body at all. And the boots are sculpted. There's a sculpted line between the thigh and the boots, which shows a lot of hard work on Mattel's part right there. The rest of it is pretty bad, like that right there, that cuff is super straight, which I think is a just awful detail. And the cape is hard rubber plastic, which I really like. And for some reason, it does not come off at all. And this is totally normal for Bizarro to be with his cape like this. The paint is also pretty bad. The S on the back of the cape is not a decal, so it will never ever come off. On the front, the shield, the line work is very sloppy. It's going outside everywhere. And it's facing the correct direction, which is exactly the same as Superman, so that's wrong on Mattel's part. The face has really bad paint. There's no wash at all to bring out any details, and the eyes aren't even painted a different color. They are not blue at all. I really hate this painted black line down here. Since there is a sculpted line to help separate the boots, that black line is not really needed at all. The rest of the paint on the body is very bad, and no one would prefer a purpley paint to this blue. The blue is the only choice, obviously. Bizarro's articulation is very different from most Mattel figures, so it's pretty bad. He has a swivel head that does not look up or down at all, surprisingly, and it cannot go all the way around. The shoulders are totally different from any Superman figure. They can't even go past 90, and they don't go around at all. There's no swivel at the bicep, and the elbows are not single-hinged, and they don't get very good range. The wrists do not swivel at all, which is really bad, but one thing I love is the hinge that's there, and it gets great range everywhere. There's no ab crunch at all to give Bizarro terrible range, and he can't twist at the waist either. The hips are worse than most Mattel figures. They don't get very good range, can't go up to 90 degrees, and they can go back a lot, actually, but they at least break up the sculpt really badly. I really hate these hips. Another bad thing is there's no cut in the thigh, but what I really hate is the not double knees down here that don't get any range at all. One thing I really hate is the ankles, how they don't have a hinge, so they get no range forwards or back at all, but I love the side-to-side movement, which they get a lot of. Overall, the articulation on this guy is very bad, but it could have been a lot worse. Of course, Bizarro came in very good packaging because Mattel always does very good packaging when compared to the other toy companies out there, but the really boring thing about him is he comes packaged facing forwards like every other figure in this line. On the back of the packaging, we do not get a list of his powers, which includes superhuman strength, flight, freeze vision, and flame breath, which is pretty unfunny because those are the exact same powers Superman has. Anyways, let's fix this piece of tape on the side. And then we don't have to look for any extra tape to get the package all closed. And it's super easy to open after you cut that tape. The tray doesn't come out at all. And then here is the backside of Bizarro while he is out of the tray. But for now, let's put him back in. And the cape didn't get caught on this little slit of plastic there. And now Bizarro is inside his packaging. Bizarro unsurprisingly comes with a small number of very normal accessories, which do not include this rubber vest, tie, and glasses that Bizarro can use to disguise himself as a superhero, or these pair of fists that Bizarro can use for fighting poses, and the least important thing, which is the Bizarro #1 sign, which they probably shouldn't have included at all. That sign hangs very loose and naturally around his neck and replicates the artwork you see here from the comic book perfectly. One bad thing about the necklace sign is that it's made of very hard plastic and it's not flexible at all, and I don't really appreciate how the words Bizarro and #1 are sculpted on. I would have preferred if Mattel had put in some hard work and just painted them on instead. Also bad on the vest is it's very hard plastic that's not flexible at all, which makes it surprisingly hard to slip onto Bizarro. And to do that, you need to point Bizarro's arms straight down at the ground. Now, I know all about where this vest came from, so I can tell you about its history and how accurate it is. But one thing is for certain, Bizarro does not look silly at all when he is wearing it. He looks very normal. For the glasses and the tie, I just have many things to say about the sculpt on those, but they are both very firm plastic that makes it impossible to get on to Bizarro, even more impossible than his vest. Switching the alternate hands is also very hard and takes forever, and I don't really like the alternate hands he comes with because they don't make any sense whatsoever. And they don't just pop in easily either. Overall, Bizarro's accessories are very bad, and I'm surprised he came with so few, really. Not looking at the scale, Bizarro sits at almost 7 inches, which is really small for these figures. As always, here he is with my Batman and Spider-Man, who he's a bit shorter than. Here he is with the villainous Superman from Mattel, and you can see how perfectly they scale up since Bizarro's much shorter than him. When you compare the scale and the color, Bizarro matches much worse with the DC Direct Superman. And just doesn't fit in at all with the NECA comic book Superman. He's the worst out of all of them when you compare. Overall, this is a pretty uncool figure from Mattel. It comes with a small number of accessories, and it has a pretty bad sculpt and articulation scheme. The paint is a personal preference, and most people will really love the blue over the purple, but personally I really mind, so I hate this figure and I don't recommend him at all. Well, until next time, hello YouTube!